We have to check in coming out of the weekend with Day Trading Danny.
All right. If you guys have been following the market, it had its worst week of the year last week, which pretty much trends with my picks that have kind of come off the rails a little bit. But that will not hold us back from still getting after on the market. Just to get us started, give you guys my portfolio because I don't want to go through this and be like, why didn't you buy so and so? Why didn't you buy so and so? So we'll assume my portfolio consists of some of the top quarterbacks out there: Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, Nico. Those are like top 3 right now that I have that I'm holding. Like I've had them, assume I've had them the whole time. I am holding on to, even though it is really close to hitting the sell button, Dylan Gabriel, Holden. Because I'm just like, I got analysts researching, checking the numbers, looking at the fundamentals, making sure they're there. I am holding on to Cade Klubnik. Now, there was a little bit of a bright side. You guys pointed out a lot of it was easier throws, but you do wonder what confidence can do for a 5 TD performance in a young quarterback. We'll see if that could be something. Although I do remember DJ, you having a couple 5 touchdown performances too, and it never really turned the corner for him. So just something to keep an eye on. The last one I'm holding on to, Grayson McCall. So I'm holding on to that. We'll see if he can get better as the system goes. And you guys referenced Tennessee might be that wagon. Bud also pointed out, I think it could be fine for the ACC. And if they kind of get things going, I think he could settle into this offense. But as we pointed out in the preview, I was like, did you guys notice Grayson McCall's got a little bit of a noodle arm since he joined the ACC? It's always been there. I just think he's got to be more comfortable in the system that he's playing in. So I'm going to hold on to it. I'm not selling it just yet. So that's kind of my portfolio of guys that I'm working with right now. Any issue? Anybody missing?
Those.
Where are you at on Bo Nix and his 3.3 yards per attempt?
I mean, I'm trying not to dunk on everybody just yet. Like, I just want to be like, all right, let's wait. Like Will Levis, I feel really good. See, I may not be able to predict who's going to be the superstar, but I feel pretty confident in the guys that I don't think are going to be superstars. Like Bo Nix and Will Levis were probably at the top of the list where I was pounding the table. So yes, I would buy the Oregon Bo Nix stock. I would sell the Broncos and Auburn version of Bo Nix. Similar color scheme too. Maybe there's something to that. All right. Do you guys want buys or sells first?
Let's go with the buys.
All right. I'm buying. I don't know if you guys hit on this. I'm sure you probably did. I didn't get the last another hour, 41-minute reaction pod. Solid from you guys. It wasn't even, I need to go 2.0 next time. You guys are all going to sound like chipmunks by the time I'm done getting this so I can listen to the whole thing. I'm buying DJ Lagway is not only the quarterback of the future, but the quarterback of the present for the Gators. I thought he showed enough where I think Billy Napier, clearly he's on the hot seat, but if he went back to Graham Mertz, I think he should be fired. There was some highlight throws. I thought you saw more than enough to say, all right, this is our guy. The arm talent did jump. You can see why he was, one of the top players in the entire country coming through Gainesville. So I'm buying that. I did not watch the whole game, but the throws that I did see were enough for me to go, all right, that's it. Like, it's done. Like, thanks for coming, Graham Mertz, but you're going to be the role of mentor now to the young quarterback.
All right, so for Lagway, like you mentioned, we've got to take competition into consideration from like the quarterback side. Like, is it just like the way he carries himself? Because I also saw some, scouts be able to come back with the, they thought he was, great with the rollout, command of the offense, being able to go through his reads. It's not just the physical tools as well. You liked the way that he, orchestrated things out there.
Manage the game. And how many teams have we talked about that are really good that have struggled against lower tier competition? Like, I mean, so that just the fact that you're doing what you're supposed to do, I think is a really good sign for DJ Lagway. You know what else I'm buying? And somebody in here already referenced it, said, if you like the volatility, which I do, I'm a trader. I love the volatility. I'm buying Aiden Childs. Now, I know he had a couple picks. There were some questionable throws, but they were down 7 in the fourth quarter, and he had to step up, made maybe one of the best throws of the weekend to tie up the game. I'm going to trust what Jonathan Smith told me, said he loves him. We have to remember, speaking of volatility, he's only 18 years old. Like, I think this kid could be that guy. I don't know if it's this year, but you can see the foundational parts of a guy who could be special, where all of a sudden Jonathan Smith, after an entire year kind of learning, eliminating some of those mistakes, that this Michigan State team could be right back to where they want to be next year. So I'm buying early on Aiden Childs. You guys with me?
Yeah, oh no, I love Aiden. He's the most entertaining quarterback in the country right now.
Okay. I am
button, Bud.
I'm buying Bud's mute button. and I'm never
I
selling.
think I'm with all those. I mean, to me, the Lagway thing will depend on who Florida hires. I think, assuming that Napier's out. So, like, does Lagway like the fit of the new guy? Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Right. I think you'll have big time offers from a lot of different schools in the offseason. Samford did cover that game, and the line was 38.5. Samford is legitimately bad. And so, yeah, I'm still with you because I think Lagway is crazy talented.
And that ain't his fault.
Did you have Cade as a buy?
No, I had him as a hold.
Okay, yeah,
public, right?
I
like
think
I'm coming into the season feeling like second year, and it wasn't great against Georgia. Confidence is back. A lot of easy throws, as you guys pointed out. But I'm gonna hold on to him. I'm not willing to sell him yet because I know you guys were talking about benching him right after like at some point.
No, we said Clemson's backups are terrible. So like you have to.
They don't have anywhere to go. Yeah,
right. Exactly.
Right.
I watched that game. That was interesting. He had like 170 yards on this fake bubble screen and go wide open stuff, which was pretty nice. But like, is that repeatable in some of their better games? Probably not to that extent. Man, App's defense was horrendous. Like they had improved a lot in the final 7 games last year when they switched to that 4-2-5, but that did not hold in this game at all. But I was happy that Cade was like, he wasn't broken. He went out there, the guys were wide open, but at least he hit them.
What do you make of the fact that Wesco only played 13 snaps against Georgia, and then very clearly they decide, like, we are going to scheme this stuff up for this absolute animal and just unleash him?
I wanted to bet Wesco anytime touchdowns, but all these books were on top of the prop.
Heading into the game?
Yeah. They were on it. They're like he needs to play.
So why was he not a bigger factor against Georgia?
Is it a trust thing? I don't know.
Yeah. He's a freshman. You got other guys.
Would he have really made a difference?
No.
I don't think so.
He would have won that game for him.
Of the many books that I read, Wall Street Wizards, Trade Like a Pro. I mean, I could go down the list. Warren Buffett's got a great book as well. One of the lessons that I learned is you don't want to make emotional trades, like knee-jerk reactions. But this one might be early. But I'm buying USC as the second best team in the Big Ten. They do get Penn State at home. And I'm not selling my Oregon stock just yet, but I don't know how you can feel great about it from what we've seen from them. USC's got as much chance as anybody to be in this conversation. The bet I would make, I don't think I'd bet them 8 plus 850 to win the Big Ten, just because I do think Ohio State could be that juggernaut. Plus 165 to make the college football playoff. They don't even have to be the second best. They could be the third best and potentially the fourth best. But I like them.
Of the many books I've read, Cat in the Hat, Horton Hears a Who,
a Lorax,
Green Eggs and Ham. I don't think that's a terrible take. I don't think it's off. I don't agree with it, but I can see the way things are going if that ends up, because like we'll get to more upon further review, but there are holes in like everybody but Ohio State. If you look at the top 4 teams that we thought were going to be in the Big Ten, all of them have shown some holes in the first 2 weeks of the season already that kind of make you raise an eyebrow. Whereas USC has just looked pretty damn good.
It might be too early, but you know what? A lot of people were like, what's this internet thing? And they didn't buy Google. So it might be early. All right, on to 2 sells. I got 2 sells and then I'm done. I am selling Riley Leonard as the quarterback to take Notre Dame to the playoffs. Now, this is more about something I heard on this podcast where Tom Fornelli, resident hater of the 12-team playoff, said this is why it sucks, because you shouldn't be able to lose that game and still make the playoffs. So this is a combination of, I think that loss did kick them out of the playoffs. Like, especially since they don't play in a conference. They don't have that auto bid. I think if they're in a conversation with a lot of 2-loss teams, then you're putting those 2-loss teams in over them. So I do think, and this isn't about like Riley Leonard clearly has a long way to go as a passer, which we pointed out here a bunch. Like he only had 3 touchdown passes last year through the air. He has to develop there. It's going to take time. I think we all probably jumped there, but we were all tentative on it. But it's more about the quarterback this year. Like, and I don't see them having one of those runs where all of a sudden they just dominate everybody, even against their schedule, which is light. I don't think they're going to do that. So I think, and Notre Dame is out. I think that was the loss that kept him out of the playoffs.
Makes
Agree.
sense. Who's buying at this point?
Notre Dame.
We're kind of selling the bottom here.
There's always somebody.
No. They're still in the top 25. I don't think they're top 25.
The AP
team.
voters are.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. The AP voters are still in on them.
Stock price ain't bottomed out yet. No, I mean,
TV networks are still very much in on Notre Dame being a playoff team.
Yeah.
Last.
By the way,
one more on Notre Dame?
Hold on, just like to tie those last two, like the buy and the sell. Why is the narrative like, all right, well, if Notre Dame runs the table, as if they don't play in at USC the last week of the season? I mean, Trojans are touchdown favorite in that game. Yeah. 10 points.
They also play
now.
They also play Louisville.
When we get there, it'll be close to double digits.
What if Texas A&M finishes 7-5?
Right.
I mean, it's like their
what
best.
If Florida State finishes 7-5?
What if Northern Illinois goes 5-7? I mean, it's like, lots of things can happen.
What if Texas A&M wins the SEC? I mean,
losing to Northern Illinois at home suggests to me that Notre Dame's probably not going to run the table.
Right. I think that's it. Like sometimes you say that a team has been knocked out of the playoff because of the impact of the loss on a resume. And sometimes, especially early in the season, I think my opinion is more of like, no, I just don't think that team is good enough to do what you're saying, which is run the table. They have not been consistent enough to think that they are going to be able to withstand the rest of the college football season without taking on another loss. So I
hope Riley Leonard proves me wrong. He's a great kid. I just think he's got a long way to go as a passer. Last sell. I am selling Shadur Sanders as a top 5 NFL draft pick. I think this year could be a really long year, but even more importantly, NFL teams will dissect everything, right? They overanalyze things. You can have an incredible year, but if you act a fool off the field, they do not like that. You can be different. Look at Caleb Williams. Like, he was different, paints his nails, does all this stuff, didn't prevent him, but he was a pretty good teammate. I never heard him throw his teammates under the bus, never heard him complain. Some of the stuff that's happening, I think, is going to damage his draft stock. For him to go out and talk. Now, did you guys see the thing when he said it was a rookie mistake and it felt like on the pick 6, was he talking about himself or was he talking about the receiver he was throwing to? Because it felt to me like he was throwing the receiver under the bus, saying there might have been a mistake on the route somehow, and then he was throwing him under the bus. But then even afterwards, when he was talking about Dylan Raiola, and there was some comparison. And
how many times did he get touched? Which is basically throwing his offensive line.
You got to eat it. You have to eat it at that point. Say, you know what? He played great. He outplayed me tonight. You don't throw your own offensive lineman under the bus. You don't throw your running game. You don't throw your play calling under the bus. All of it is hurting his draft stock. And I hate that because I do think he's talented enough to be potentially a top 5 pick. But I think when they start dissecting it, and if he's borderline, if it's like, well, I don't know if he has a top tier arm strength, they will talk themselves out of it.
Leaving the sideline with 2 minutes left in the game doesn't help his case either.
I mean, that could have easily been solved, I think, if Dion would have said they were going to rush the field, we wanted him off. And it's still controversial, but the fact that they didn't.
Why don't they want the rest of the team?
I would have just lied. I would have just said, oh, hey, like he took that big time shot. Like, I just wanted to make sure he got checked out and he was okay. The game was over. Just wanted to, like, it's a long flight back. It's hard to travel from Lincoln. We just wanted to, get him checked out as soon as we can. Nebraska played extremely well, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
I mean,
how about one last thing on Shedeur? So you say not a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. Do you think he's still a top 3 quarterback?
Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers are clearly 1-2. It'll be interesting to see if anybody else plays them way into that conversation. And I think it largely depends now on how he plays this season. And if he gets roughed up, I mean, last year he got roughed up.
The whole season?
What's that?
Like, what odds would you need to take that he plays the whole season?
Oh, you mean like if they run out of bowl?
He's shutting it down. Like if they're 2-6,
business decision.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Market.
I do think Dion will coach the whole season, though.
I would hope so.
I would hope so too. He can't shut it down.
I mean, don't you need an? resign and just hand the thing over to Warren Sapp? I mean, is that the way that this ends? Colorado closing out the year, playing all those teams?
Shout out the Blue Chicken. He said, what if Travis Hunter? He said he could shut it down. Mike, what if they all shut it down because it's all a business decision? Because I do think they'd probably go together, if they were shutting down for the year. And then you talk about a locker room that would be challenging to keep those guys fighting. Boy, they need a W fast.
Things are turning
this weekend.
Yeah.
You think Colorado State gets them this weekend?
No, I think Colorado's going to get Colorado State.
Yeah, Colorado State looks bad.
Right.
That's going to be an exercise. That's going to be an exercise. The Demons game for the Buffs. They're going to put up a lot of points.
Colorado State is probably worse than North Dakota State.
So, from denversports.com, and this was something that that our friend and colleague Richard Johnson was pointing out in the CBS Sports workroom, is that you're starting to see that local beat, which had been very friendly and very promotional, the tide is starting to turn. Maybe it started with, going after the Denver Post, and now they're all starting to come back. But I did not know this because I have not been to a game in person, but according to denversports.com, Deion Sanders told the marching band they could not play the fight song after Shedeur scores a touchdown so that the loudspeaker can play a recording of his son's song, Perfect Timing.
You know who else played Shedeur's song, Perfect Timing? Nebraska in the locker room.
I love Colorado, though, man. Like,
they are good for our sport.
Like, there are so many Colorado fans who aren't actually fans of Colorado. They're just fans of celebrity type coverage, which Deion gets. It helps the numbers, and their commitment to the bit and to the reality show is amazing. They talk trash when they're down 50 points. It's amazing. Like, I love it. Like, cool. Like, be who you are. And if you just want to talk trash all the time, great. I still believe they can win the Big 12. I still think they can make college ball playoff, just like Deion said.
I don't.
I think he's got his finger on the pulse of this team, man, and clearly knows what he's looking at.
I do not. I think no. Yeah, listen, you might say K-State slipped up a little bit. We might be worried about Cam Rising. We might, be looking at Oklahoma State a little sideways. Maybe that ceiling is dropping. I ain't there yet.